Hello everyone, welcome to today's class. Today we will discuss Amedee or How to Get Rid of It. It's a play by Eugene Ionesco. It was published in 1954. The play Amedee was based on a short story by the same author, Oriflamme. It's an absurd play. So let's have a look at the features of the absurd theatre. Theatre of the absurd. It emerged in France around 1940s and 60s during the post-war period. Martin Eslin coined the term the theatre of the absurd in 1960 in his work The Theatre of the Absurd. Absurd means out of harmony with reason or propriety, illogical. Man's existence as illogical and meaningless. The works expressed the thought of human existence that has no meaning or purpose. After Holocaust and World War II, world appeared chaotic and meaningless. New genre emerged in France, raising questions, not answers. They expressed an inability to make sense of human actions, choices, and life itself. So, the absurd plays, all the works of literature produced during those times, was a reaction to the collapse of moral, religious, political, and social structures following the two world wars of the 20th century. According to Albert Camus, world has beyond the understanding of man, so it will remain always absurd and we should accept it. Absurd plays raise some basic questions of existence like why do we live, why we have to die, why there is injustice and suffering in the world. And also there was a great distrust in the language and the pattern, the structure and everything. And the characterization, the relationship between the characters and the meaning, the purpose and everything was quite different. Everything seems meaningless because words fail to express the essence of human existence. It was influenced by existential philosophy. The Myth of Sisyphus was a work published in the year 1942 by Albert Camus, which can be considered as a Bible of absurd theatre. Absurd dramatists did not resolve the problem of man's meaningless existence. I have already mentioned that they do not give answers to the questions of man. Instead, they are asking questions unresolved. It suggests a world without meaning, decline, religious faith, isolation of the individual. So these were the recurrent themes of absurdist plays. People during those time, the characters of the absurd plays, they were more egoistic and alienated from the entire world. So these kinds of traumatic experiences or the mindset of people during the post-war period were portrayed in the works of absurdist playwrights. The major playwrights of this genre were Samuel Beckett, Eugene Ionesco, Arthur Adamov, Jean Genet, Edward Albee, and Harold Pinter. Let's have a look at our author, Eugene Ionesco. He was a Romanian French playwright. His real name is Eugene Ionescu. I'm not getting much into his biography, but I'll touch the main aspects of his life. Few of the name of his major works are The Bald Soprano, The Chairs, The Rhinoceros. You might have heard of The Chairs and The Rhinoceros, which are mostly cited as the apt examples of absurd plays. And he has written one novel named The Hermit in the year 1975. It was Albert Camus who called him as a writer of the absurd theatre, as a writer of the theatre of the absurd. So it was Albert Camus in his work termed him as one of the absurd playwrights. Eugene Ionesco, mainly his plays, captured meaninglessness of existence in his plays. He was often mislabeled as an existential along with Jean-Paul Sartre. So he was not, it's not that he was an existentialist, he was not that extreme in his philosophical thoughts and all, but he was a absurdist. He could capture well the meaninglessness of existence through his plays, especially through the character of Amédée, and also Rhinoceros and the chair is often cited as the best examples for absurd plays. Now let's have a look at the play Amedee, or How to Get Rid of It. It's a play published in 1954. It's a 3-act play. Often it's considered as a tragicomedy or a comedy. Mostly absurd plays will be farcical or comic in nature. A low level of comedy, like we know that we have in Waiting for Godot. It's kind of it talks of something very serious, but at the same time it is comic at certain points. The dialogues or we might be thinking about the uselessness of such a plot. That's what the writer always intends us to do. So the play Amédée revolves around 2 characters mainly, Amédée Bucinogi and Madeleine. So I'll just give you a gist of what the characters are. Amédée was a failed playwright, a possible murderer, and Amédée is often portrayed as a caricature of a writer, Eugene Ionesco himself. The second character is Madeleine, who is a switchboard operator, and she is a wife of Amédée. The plot. Amédée and Madeleine live in an apartment with 2 rooms. They live in one room. The apartment has 2 rooms. In one room, the both are living, and in the second room, there is a corpse. Yes, there is a dead body which is growing day by day. There is a dead body in the second room, and the peculiarity of the dead body is that it's growing day by day, that too in geometric progression. The corpse is a point of tension. It's a point of tension and problem for both Amédée and Madeleine. Just think about a situation in which a couple are living inside an apartment for a long time, and they are having a dead body which is kept in another room of the same apartment. How would it be to live like that for a long period of time? Can you imagine that? So let's see. Amédée, I already mentioned you that Amédée is a playwright. He has been writing a play for about 15 years. He is writing a play about an old man and an old woman. But the thing is that he wrote only 2 lines in the 15 years. In all the 15 years, he just could write only 2 lines. He will always say, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it tomorrow. That's how he postponed everything. The couple have not left their apartment in those 15 years. It's been mentioned that the couple have not left their apartment in those 15 years. Not for anything. They left their apartment in all those years. Madeleine works as a switchboard operator in the living room. She engages in telephone exchange and thus is connected to the outer world. Otherwise, they don't have any other connection to the outside world. They are fully cut off from the world. They live a kind of isolated and secluded life. They don't have any connection to the people outside. They are fully cut off from the world. Madeleine is the only character who maintains some kind of contact with the outer world, since she is working as a switchboard operator, so that she will have to converse with other people over phone. That's the only connection which she has to the outer world. Otherwise, directly she doesn't have any connection with the people outside. And about the relationship of the couple, it's a bitter relationship. They quarrel each other. They are not in good terms. They discuss how to deal with a continually growing corpse in the other room. So there's a problem of tension for both the people. See, the corpse, there is a corpse, and it's not that the corpse is decaying or it arouses some smell. It's not like that. But the peculiarity of the corpse is that it's growing day by day in leaps and bounds. See, the size of the corpse is growing. It's growing day by day. And it causes mushrooms to sprout all over the dead body. They do not know whose body is that. And also the murderer, the identity of the murderer is also quite ambiguous. They do not know whose body is that, and also they do not know who has killed that person or how that person has got murdered. The possible murderer is Amédée. That's what they accuse of. It's been believed that he murdered a guest who visited the Bucinochis 15 years ago, whose identity is ambiguous like the assassin's identity. As we don't know the assassin identity, likewise we also don't know the identity of the corpse. It's been believed that it's the body of a person who visited them 15 years ago. It's been believed that that person was the lover of Madeleine, but Amedee rejects the fact. Amédée suggests that the corpse might be that of a baby of their neighbor. It's been said that the neighbor might have left the baby in care of this couple, and they might have forgotten to take this baby boy back. There is one such a dialogue in the play. Amedee gets confused as to whose body is that, or did he really commit the crime, or what he did with that body, with that person and all. He gets very confused, and he often mixes up dreams and reality. And he often asks, did I really kill him? Did I really kill him? That's a question that is haunting him throughout the play. Maybe it might be there in his mind as well. The corpse may be dead, but it's very active. Usually the corpse after, maybe a person after death, it will be very inert thing. The only thing which happens will be decay and decomposition. Otherwise there is no such thing as the body grows again. But here the body is very active, its nails are growing, its eyes glow with an eerie green light. See that it's the gigantic, the fierce look that the body is giving. Corpse grows in geometrical progression. The corpse stretches across a stage or room, ready to knock a hole in the front row by the force of its ever-growing feet. So you can see that the corpse is growing in size out of the room. It's ready to knock a hole in the front room of the room by the force of its ever-growing feet. So its feet, not just its feet, but the entire body is growing, especially the feet, the gigantic feet, is now, it's now creating a hole at the front door of the room. Now they are forced to make space, they are forced to make arrangements for the body. Because there is not enough space, there are furniture in the other amenities and all, so they have to remove the furniture, they have to pile all the furniture and the other things in a corner of the room so that the dead body can occupy some space. Meanwhile, all the story is going, there is a flashback. Amédée and Madeleine appear as a newly married couple here. Amédée is represented, or Amédée is portrayed as an importunate lover. It was so romantically presented. Madeleine was very sullen. She was very unwilling to accept the love of her husband Amédée. In the dialogue exchange, the dialogues exhibit some sexual imagery. Amédée says that what is rotten in their house is the absence of love. Amédée always complains that there is lack of love. The love in between the couple is dead. Amédée says, "Do you know, Madeline, if we loved each other, if we really loved each other, none of this would be important." That's what he always say. He is actually, Amédée is yearning for love, which he is denied of. Do you know, Madeline, if we loved each other, if we really loved each other, none of this would be important. If we loved each other, the fact that there is a crops growing, it wouldn't be a matter at all for the couple. If there is love between them, if there is a kind of affection, the kind of dialogue exchanges between the couple, then nothing would be a problem for them. But Madeline says love cannot help people to get rid of their troubles. Love cannot do anything with the life of the people. It cannot help them to get rid of the troubles or their problems. Now let's get into the plot. It's been represented as an interlude in the play, the flashback scene. Amédée, now we can see Amédée pulling the huge body out of the window. We have already seen that the dead body is growing out of the room. It's growing out in size. So it has become so necessity for them to expel this body out of the room. Now that he is pulling the body out of the window. Finally, after a Herculean effort, he is successful in that. He drags it through the street down the Seine. It's a river in France. He has taken it out. Now he is dragging it through the street down the river Seine. But he confronts various people. Probably he is confronted by an American soldier. He asks him about it, and he convinces Amédée. Amédée convinces the American soldier that he is actually writing a play. He is a playwright, and he is writing a play in which he is taking part the role of the living, and there is a dead person. So in Amédée's play, he is taking a part of the living against the dead, and as part of the play, he'll be doing that act. That's what he is trying to convince the American soldier. But he is getting unsuccessful in delivering his thoughts to the American soldier. And he also says that, or we can see that the play written by, or the play which is supposed to be written by Amédée is a play against nihilism. The corpse develops a parachute. Meanwhile, the corpse develops a parachute kind of a thing sprouts from his body, and Amédée flies away into the oblivion. He floats in the air. The mushrooms are now in bloom. Amédée somehow gets rid of the corpse of their dead love. "I didn't want to run away from my responsibilities. It's a bint, Amédée." Amédée says during this time, "I didn't want to run away from my responsibilities." He is not flying into the air. It's not that he is running away from his responsibilities, but it's a wind that is carrying him away to the air, to the sky. The protagonist escapes from his intolerable situation. It's been suggested that the protagonist Amédée escapes from his intolerable situation to a free world. It suggested liberation, salvation. We can read it all in that light. Let's have a look at the character Amédée. Amédée is a failed playwright. He is a possible murderer. Madeline sometimes believes so, but Amédée rejects it. He is a caricature of Ionesco himself. Maybe it represents the writers of the post-World War period. Writers who were unable to write something, unable to think about something, unable to have something creative under the disillusionment of the great world wars. An importunate lover rejected by his wife, he pleads for love. Unfortunate man of letters, intellectual impotence, complaining that the corpse is preventing him from writing. He was unsuccessful both in his career as a writer he was unsuccessful, and also in his personal life he was unsuccessful, that he couldn't win the heart of his wife Madeline. He is pleading, he is begging for a kind gesture from his wife Madeline, and he always complains that their love is dead, and also he complains that the corpse which is growing day by day in the next room is actually preventing him from writing anything. Maybe it shows the chaotic, the tension, or the disillusionment, or the chaotic feeling that the world wars, the two world wars left in the minds of the people, that people are unable to do something creative, and it spread some pessimistic thought in the entire humanity. The entire humanity is becoming hopeless, that they are not produce anything creative. He waited for 15 years for a kind gesture from his wife. The year is very important. It's not for a few years, 1 or 2 years, but he has been waiting for 15 years for a kind gesture from his wife Madeline. Now let's have a look at the character of Madeline, Amédee's wife. She is a switchboard operator, still in contact with the outside world through her job. She is unwilling to accept her husband's love. She considers her love, or all aspects of his love, as an act of violence and rape. So she cannot really be in love with Amedee, because whenever she thinks of love, the images of violence, sexual violence, maybe sexual violence or the other kinds of violence and rape comes to her mind. And she is a very strong and hard person. She is very bad tempered. That's a picture of Madeline which we get from the play. Let's have a look at the relationship between the couple. In conversation with Claude Banifoy, Ionesco indicates that his grotesque characters Amedee and Madeline are symbols of the world itself, man and woman, Adam and Eve, the whole of mankind divided and trying to come together again to become one. So the grotesque characters of Amedee and Madeline are represented as the entire mankind. They can be represented as Adam and Eve. Their relationship, the exchanges, the tension between the couple can also be equated with the entire mankind. The personal chaos of Amedee and Madeline is a microcosm of the beginning universal chaos that we have already seen. Cast in the roles of Adam and Eve, they may be seen as the past, a couple who feels guilt and the need to get rid of their guilt, the corpse. We know that Adam and Eve, they are always stricken by the grief of the sin they committed, that they have eaten the forbidden fruit. That's a sin which they committed. Likewise, the couple Amedee and Madeline, they are always feeling guilt of what they did. And that guilt is now present in their apartment in the form of that corpse. Maybe that is a representation of something which some kind of a crime or some kind of a negativity that they committed in the past or in the recent years. Their hiding from their neighbors can perhaps compare with Adam's and Eve's hiding from God after fall. So after fall from the heaven, from the paradise, Adam and Eve they are hiding from God. Likewise, here Madeline and Amedee, Amedee and Madeline, they are cut off from the world. They are hiding from the neighbors. They are hiding from the outside world, leading a secluded life. Unlike the beautiful flowering garden of Adam and Eve, the garden of Amedee and Madeline is a mushroom garden which thrives on the decay of their apartment grave. So in their apartment grave, the mushrooms are sprouting, so it can be considered as a garden, a mushroom garden, which can be equated with the Garden of Eden of Adam and Eve. So it's two actually. The two are unwillingly imprisoned in one room, a tomb. they are forced, even if they are living a loveless life, they are quarreling each other, they are complaining each other, they are arguing each other, they are imprisoned inside a single room. Both are disposed of their lives in their own house. They live a lifeless, loveless life, a meaningless, a chaotic, a tension, a life with full of tension and worries. A corpse invades their psychic inner space. It's already been, there is a tension already been between the couple. Apart from that, the corpse, it even intensifies the tension, the problem of their mind, the psychic. It engulfs their psychic and inner space. There is a state of rupture or inner fragmentation. They are mentally, they are ruptured, they are mentally, they are broken, they are shattered in every sense. Both are cut off from the world. They lead a frightful life. And that we can imagine how would it be to live such a frightful life that we are having a corpse and we have to hide everything from the outside world, and they are not even, they haven't yet left the apartment for all those 15 years. How traumatic, how catastrophic that life would be. The images of corpse and mushrooms. These are the elements of macabre and burlesque. It creates a sense of anxiety, it creates a sense of fear, and at the same time, it goes at some points, it goes into be quite farcical at some points. It creates some comic elements in the play. Overall chaotic and dehumanized life of the couple. The corpse and mushroom represent the overall chaotic and dehumanized life of the couple. Dead love of the couple, their bitter and quarrelsome relationship. So these are the things represented by the images of corpse and mushrooms in the play. We know the Wasteland, the first session of Wasteland, the burial of the dead. T.S. Eliot's Wasteland, in which there is a line, that corpse you planted last year in your garden, has it begun to sprout? Will it bloom this year? It's been there in the first session, Burial of the Dead. The poem starts with the recurring imagery of death. We know that. Battle of Melee, which is mentioned at the beginning of these lines. Battle of Melee took place during the First Punic War between Rome and Carthage. Many Phoenician sailors took part in the battle. They drowned in, they lost their lives and all. So there is one familiar face for the speaker, and his name is Stetson. Stetson would also be one such Phoenician sailor. In this crowd of death, he spots one familiar man, that is Stetson. He calls out to him and asks, he is addressing Stetson and asks, that corpse you planted last year in your garden, has it begun to sprout? Will it bloom this year? Everybody is planting something helplessly, hopelessly, wishing it to grow. No, it's not that they are planting something solid, something they are planting some kind of thing. It's not, you shouldn't take it in its literal sense. We plan societies, we hope for a better future, we hope we become very optimistic about our life. But then something like World War First or World War comes around and it shatters those seeds of hope and positivity from the lives of people. Eliot is suggesting that maybe those seeds were always just corpses to begin with. There is profound despair in the people after the two world wars, disillusionment in the mindset of people. The real man struggling for identity, meaning, and purpose in the post-war, modern, industrialized world was a theme that we can also associate with the play Amedee. Mushrooms. When we look at the image of the mushroom, it shows, it symbolizes, or it gives an image of clouds of atomic war. I have, in order to understand it better, I have included one image here. See, it looks like a mushroom, right? So it indicates, or it symbolically represents atomic war. So the mushroom relates to, or mushroom talks of something related to the era. Maybe it indicates something of the world wars. Withdrawal of Amédée and Madeleine from the outside world, it's a retreatal into a bomb shelter. Maybe a refugee camp or a bomb shelter. We know that Amédée, both the characters are completely cut off from the world, and it indicates that they are inside a bomb shelter or a refugee camp. Maybe everything constitutes a war-like situation. The presence of American soldier, the Cold War period during which the play appeared. The play Amedee was written during the Cold War period, and the American soldier, the presence of the American soldier indicates that the play or something during the period of Cold War is happening. Amedee says that I am a misfit. I wasn't made to live in the 20th century. A rejection of it represents, or it shows a rejection of the modern world. I am a misfit. I wasn't made to live in the 20th century. 20th century was a age where most of the literary genres, the literature works and everything has got a new turn, because the mindset, the attitude, the current trend, everything massively changed during this period, especially after the great two world wars. Mushrooms are images of decay and decomposition, victim of their sexual incompatibility. The corpse made up of dismissed guilt and regret. The corpse represents the existential angst in Amedee. So the images of corpse and mushrooms, it shows many more things. It speaks of their sexual incompatibility, their guilt, their regret, their sense of sin, their sense of guilt, regret, and also it represents the existential angst in Amedee. Amedee questions everything. Amedee is he is going through a sense of existential thoughts. He is very philosophically might be thinking about the life of people, that he is devoid of love. We know that Amedee is rejected, denied by his wife, and the corpse, the tension, all the thoughts would be contemplating in the minds of the character, in the mind of the character Amedee. Let's have a look at the symbolism of number 15 in Bible, especially in Christianity. In Christianity, prophetically, the 15th day of the 7th month pictures the coming millennium, when the world will have rest from sin because of the binding of Satan on the day of atonement. Under Christ's reign, salvation will then be offered to the world. So, the 15th day of 7th month in Christianity, it pictures a coming millennium where there is new hope. The Satan will be bound, and it's a day of atonement, and the Christ will be ruling over the world, and there will be eternal salvation for the entire mankind from all the chains of Satan. So it gives a sort of hope. It represents liberation and salvation. So it's after 15 years of life, 15 years of secluded life, 15 years of denial of love. Now that Amedee flies away into the air, that he is escaping to the outer world. He is getting liberation. He is emancipated. That's what the play suggests. In Genesis, the story goes that on the 15th day of the Hebrew month of Nisan, Abraham saw a vision. In this vision, God told Abraham that his descendants would become slaves in a foreign country, and that later they would escape this slavery. Israelites are set free on the exact same day. So on the 15th day of Hebrew month of Nisan, God gives Abraham a vision in which he tells him that your descendants will be slaves, will become slaves in a foreign country, and later they will be saved. And this happens on the exact day. And now the Israelis saved from Egypt. They went to Egypt as slaves, and now they are liberated, they are saved. So it again shows liberation, as in the case of Amédée, liberated after 15 years of imprisonment inside the apartment. Kind of imprisonment that they are like, they both, Madeline and Amédée, are living a life inside a prison. That it's been said that they haven't left their apartment in the entire 15 years. So it's more like a prison for them. This was the first day of freedom after the Israelites were enslaved in Egypt. So the 15th day was the first day of freedom for them. 15th time when Noah is mentioned in the book of Genesis. This is when Noah and his wife, along with his sons and their wives, entered the ark because of the great flood. We know the great flood that happened in the history. The great flood. So it's 15th time in the book of Genesis. It's mentioned the Noah's, the great flood, and that incident is mentioned in the 15th time in the Genesis. So Noah here is taking his wife and other people and all the living creatures and also some non-living things inside the ship that he created in order to save the humanity. So it again shows what liberation or a hope, a rebirth of life, or coming back to life after a chaotic situation. So likewise, Amédée's chaotic, problematic situation for all the 15 years is now coming to an end. After 15 years, he is flying away. He is moving away to a different world. It can also be associated as the death of Amédée. Amédée is dead, and after death he got salvation. In life, it may not be possible to find meanings. Absurdist say is that life is meaningless. God, they question the existence, they question the power of God, they question the existence of God, they contemplate on the meaning of life, the senselessness of existence and all. And maybe death would be the only thing which is considered as a great lever, which would bring some kind of equity, some kind of justice to the people. So these are some quotes which I included here by our author Eugene Ionesco. Ionesco said that absurd is that which is devoid of purpose. Absurd is that which is devoid of purpose. It doesn't have any purpose. Yes, that's very evident in all this plays. Cut off from his religious, metaphysical, and transcendental roots, man is lost. All his actions become senseless, absurd, and useless. Absurd is that which is devoid of purpose. Cut off from his religious, metaphysical, and transcendental roads, man is lost. All his actions become senseless, absurd, and useless. Sometimes I tell myself that the world is a huge practical joke God has played on humanity, and that the only solution is to join in the game, to play and to laugh no matter what. Nothing more delightful than to confuse and upset people. No society has been able to abolish human sadness. No political system can deliver us from the pain of living, from our fear of death, our thirst for the absolute. It's a human condition that directs the social condition, not vice versa. So that is not just these words of Eugene Ionesco reverberate the thoughts which was there in the minds of all the absurd playwrights during those times. What is the purpose of life? What's the purpose of writing? What's the purpose of life? What's the purpose of entire humankind? We are cut off from the religion. We are cut off from all the metaphysical thoughts. Man is lost. The senselessness is prevailing the world. The world is a huge, he even says that the world is a huge practical joke played by God has played. It's a joke played by God. The people are unable to find a meaning in that. People do not know what to do. They don't have a proper solution to their problems. They don't know what to do next. They just ask, they just keep on asking questions, and nobody could satisfy. Nobody could satisfy or give a reply to their questions and queries. Nothing more delightful than to confuse and upset people. The absurdist, they ask questions. They never resolve the problems of the people. They upset and confuse the minds of the people. It further intensify the chaotic situation of the people, the existential angst which was there during the post-war period. No society has been able to abolish human sadness. No political system can deliver us from the pain of living. Nothing in the world, no religion, no social setup, no social setup, no political system could evade their pains, their anxieties, their thoughts. Nothing could give an answer to their questions. They have fear of death, thirst for the absolute. It's a human condition that directs a social condition. Human life is meaningless. Even the absurdist playwright says that human life is absurd, it is senseless, it is meaningless, and we have to accept it. We have to admit the fact that it is absurd. Albert Camus even suggests that the possible solution to find meaning is to commit suicide, because after death we won't have any questions at all. Otherwise, we have to accept it in the same way. We have to accept it. We have to admit the fact that life is meaningless, life is purposeless, life is senseless. We have to accept it, and there is nothing else which we can do. Life is like that. We should never bring any meaning or unity to life. Man's life is like that. That's what the absurdists reinstate through their works. So we will conclude this here. I hope you have a great listening. Thank you all. Thank you so much.